Welcome on into this workshop where you're going to learn how to bring back your hunger and fullness cues so you can stop overeating, especially at night. And this training is for you and you're in the right place if you are someone who feels all or nothing when it comes to eating healthy. You do good with food during the day, but always seem to struggle at night. You don't even know what gentle hunger feels like anymore. Like you just know either hangry or stuffed sick. Or you're just sick and tired of constantly thinking about food and never feeling good enough in your body. If so, this was for you, and my promise to you is I will deliver as much value as humanly possible the next 30 minutes. You will learn why you struggle with overeating, especially at night. You will walk away with clarity on how to bring back your hunger and fullness cues, and I will share real-life examples of how this method you'll be learning today can work. No theory, all proof. So first and foremost, hello, I'm Kelsey. I'm a life coach. I'm a NASM certified personal trainer, NASM certified nutrition coach. I have my bachelor's degree in biomedical science and chemistry, and I'm the founder of Rediscover You. But please, oh please, do not let looks fool you. While I may look fit and healthy in this picture, I actually was really, really sick and not at all healthy. And just kind of a background about me, I just always felt like the big girl, right? Just a reminder, our perceptions are a reality. Whether I really was the big girl of the group or not is irrelevant. It felt real to me. And I became really self-conscious of my body by about age 10. And age 12, I went on my first diet, which sent me down a spiral of restriction and orthorexia. If you don't know what orthorexia is, it is an obsession with healthy eating to the point that it is negatively impacting your mental and sometimes physical health. And I never felt lean enough. No matter what I did, I was a successful personal trainer. I was not yet a nutrition coach at this time, but I was a successful personal trainer for over 10 years. And I never felt like I looked the part enough to be taken seriously in the fitness industry. I was always comparing my body to my friends' bodies. And I just always felt like if I could just figure this thing out with food, then I would actually have a six pack or have a flat stomach or like the way that I looked, right? And I became obsessed. Food and exercise were literally all I could think about. I had so much of my self-worth was put on the way that I looked, and I completely started to disregard my own health and well-being. I was so embarrassed and just felt like a complete hypocrite because while I was out there, preaching health to my clients, secretly and behind closed doors, I had a big problem. I couldn't stop binge eating. And so this is a true story. This was my 31st birthday about 4 years ago. And I would let myself have foods like cake on my birthday, but then I would lose all control. So all of these cakes, they were gifts from multiple friends, just a nice gesture, right? But because it felt like if I let myself have these things, it felt like I messed up, which meant I had to eat it all now so I could start over tomorrow. Like I couldn't have the cakes continue to tempt me throughout the rest of the week. I felt like I just had to either get it out of my system or get it out of the house. So I tried putting it in the freezer. I tried putting it in the trash, but I ended up eating all of those cakes on my birthday. It was absolutely awful, and I just felt so physically sick. I soon started to over-exercise and even purge to make up for my binge eating episodes. It was just it was a hard time, even though I look super happy. So just, again, don't judge a book by its cover. So I finally got help, thank God, because my binge episodes were happening almost daily. I worked with a registered dietitian. I learned all about intuitive eating, which I'll be teaching you a couple of principles in today. And I learned all about neuroplasticity and thought work and how limiting beliefs in our brains work and habit formation. I discovered a non-diet and body-neutral approach to achieving my health and fitness goals, which has been absolutely amazing. And I surrounded myself with a like-minded community of other non-diet dietitians and nutrition coaches. So I found freedom with from the obsessive thoughts of food in my body. I found freedom from binge and emotional overeating. I found freedom from that fear of judgment of what other people are going to think about my food or about my body. I found freedom to be present with the people and in the moments that actually matter. And I actually got in the best shape of my life. I actually have the energy. I got my period back. There was all these amazing things that happened when I was able to figure out this approach. And I started sharing my story. I realized I was not the only one, that there were so many women caught in this same struggle that I was, this problem with food, right? And that's why I'm on this mission to help more women to find freedom with food, to find peace in their body, because I truly believe when it's no longer taking up all of our headspace, that we can actually show up for the people and for the unique causes and things that we genuinely care about, that we can have a huge ripple effect on the world once we learn how to heal ourselves. So that's why I do what I do. That's who I am. And I believe that the first foundational step to rebuilding trust with your body, AKA bringing in your hunger and fullness cues, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Like, this is the first step. There's other pieces to the puzzle, but I want this to be a foundation for you. So let's talk about what are your hunger and fullness hormones. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and it's made in your stomach. Ghrelin signals your brain to say, hey, we're hungry, right? Leptin is produced in your fat cells or your adipose tissue. Leptin lets your brain know, hey, we have enough energy stored. We feel full, right? It's your satiety hormone. Ghrelin plays a role in your short-term control of appetite, and leptin controls your long-term weight control, all right? Now, here's where dieting kind of F's it all up. Chronic dieting can negatively affect our ghrelin and leptin levels because we're so focused on external rules that we completely ignore our internal body signals, right? And our body ends up losing trust with us, like especially if we're ignoring our hunger cues through prolonged fasting, like intermittent fasting or whatever else like that. Even if we're naturally hungry, but we're like, nope, I'm not eating. It's not in my window. Our body's like, well, all right, then I'm just going to keep, I'm going to either like change and make it so that you no longer feel these hormones anymore, or I'm either going to bump it up, because guess what? Your body wants to survive. Your body's on your side. Like, your body doesn't know you're trying to fit in a bikini for summer. Your body just knows that it, like in the past, like evolutionarily, like it just didn't want you to starve. And so it has these mechanisms in place, like that the more you diet, the harder it is for you to stick to it, because your body adapts, right? It adapts even with your metabolism, but it also adapts by increasing your ghrelin, so you feel hungry all the time, and decreasing your leptin, so you feel like a freaking bottomless pit. It sucks. But here's the good thing and the good news. You can train these cues to come back, to wake up and come back, and you rebuild trust with your body. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in these 5 steps. So here are the 5 steps to bring back your hunger and fullness cues. Are you ready? Grab a pen and paper. Let's take some notes. Number 1, step 1, practice food neutrality. You're like, what is that? Basically, it means that we are giving ourselves unconditional permission to eat, UPE. This is an intuitive eating concept, and it refers to eating all foods at all times. Like, genuinely, enjoying food without restriction. This does not mean eat all the time, whatever you want, whenever you want. That's not what it means at all. But it just means that there aren't any food rules, right? There's no good or bad foods. There's no off limits. There's no cheat meals. There's no forbidden foods, right? It's all food is neutral. Like, an apple is the moral equivalent of a chocolate glazed donut. I know that nutritionally they're different. Obviously, an apple has more fiber. It has more vitamins, minerals, all the things. But on a moral level, you are not a good or bad person if you choose to eat the donut. And that's where we need to kind of make sure that we're checking in on ourselves, right? And so what does it mean to practice food neutrality? It means that we're not following food rules or labeling certain foods again as bad or unhealthy or forbidden, because what it does is it puts our brains in a form of psychological reactance, right? And psychological reactance basically means it's like we overreact when we feel like our freedoms are being taken away, even if it's ourselves that are implementing it, right? And this may be like if you've ever felt like a diet rebel, or you've ever felt like, oh my gosh, like you end up fighting yourself and you end up saying, F you, I'm just going to eat it all now anyway, blah, right? It ends up making us think about and crave and possibly even obsess over these foods even more, because we've told ourselves that we're not allowed to have them, right? That reactance pit. But also think about this. If I keep saying no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate, what are you thinking about? Chocolate, 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 right? And so just kind of put how this works, like when you allow yourself. So this is my client, Michelle. She said, I allowed myself to have Halloween candy last week, and there's still candy in the kitchen now. I'm not interested in it this week. I don't feel any cravings for it. It's not put on this special pedestal, right? The other thing, when we end up practicing food neutrality and giving ourselves unconditional permission with food, we can keep foods in the house and totally forget they're there. Like, they don't bother us, right? I had Abby here, proud of myself for knowing that this ice cream, I can always have more tomorrow. Like, there's more servings. It's just lasting forever. A big one for me. I'm able to keep peanut butter in the house, like, and forget it's there. I used to eat tubs of peanut butter. Like, it was awful. But the whole idea, like she said, not thinking about it every day and knowing that I can have some when I want some. That it doesn't have to be all right now, right? When we practice food neutrality, this does not mean it's a free-for-all. It does not mean you only eat pizza and donuts, all right? We still eat in a way that supports our health and is in alignment with our health and fitness goals, but without the rigidity, right? Without the extremes, because rigid rules are going to keep us stuck in the diet cycle, right? And if you don't know what the diet cycle, this is just kind of in a little overview. It's our desire to change our body or feel in control, because sometimes controlling food feels like the only thing we can control, right? We keep saying, I'm going to get back on track. We go on a restrictive diet that has really strict, rigid food rules. We say, I'll never have XYZ food again. Usually we overdo it on that food before we start. And then we have those cravings and we have that ghrelin pumps up, right? Just because we're constantly dieting and we're constantly thinking about food. We feel out of control with food and we end up giving in. We binge or we overeat, and we have this last supper mentality of like, well, I've already messed up, F it. I'll just eat it all now so I can start over tomorrow. I'll get it out of my system. I'll get it out of the house. We feel guilt. We feel shame. We identify as a failure. We're like, I'm not good enough. And then what do you know? Lo and behold, we just end up feeling, well, I'll feel better if I change my body, or I'll feel better if I have more control. And the cycle continues and continues. So here's what happens. Like, when we practice food neutrality and give ourselves unconditional permission to eat, there's no more last supper mentality, because you can always have more later, right? What the hell effect, or the case of the fuck it, there's none of that. No need to eat it all now, because it's not the last time you're going to have it. You can ask yourself, is this really what I want? Here's an example from one of my clients. She was like, this is food freedom. She had a quesadilla. Cheese used to be off limits. Now I allow myself to have it. I don't obsess over it. I don't binge over on it. I don't go off the rails, right? Like, the types of food I'm allowed to have keeps expanding, and I actually can think about what sounds good in the moment, right? I thought that if I allowed myself to do this, that I would just eat cookies and donuts or ice cream. So I just ate what I quote unquote should eat, or what I had already planned in my FitnessPal for the day. Now I'm left satisfied, full, and content, and I'm not counting the hours until I get to eat again and seeing that there's more room for anything else. Like, this feels really good. And so this is what it means, like, that you can really enjoy food again and not feel like you're always thinking about it, and not feel so restricted and out of control with it when you give yourself permission. And this is the phrase that I want you to remember. I want you to write it down in your worksheet. I can always have more later. I've said it a couple times already, but I promise you, this one 6-word phrase can change everything. You can always have more later. You can have more ice cream later. You can have more cookies later. Like, you're not a bad person for having these things. You're a freaking adult who made a conscious decision. It's fine, right? And so the more that you can understand this concept, you'll have an abundance mindset with food. You won't feel that scarcity, and you won't feel that need to overeat. So that's step 1. Step 2, eat at the same times during the day, all right? And there's a reason for this. Far too often, I see people, especially women, like, not eating enough during the day. We're either dieting and restricting because we overate the night before, or we're intermittent fasting because we think that that's what we're supposed to do. And we end up coming to the end of the day feeling ravenously hangry. And then we wonder why we end up eating so much. We eat too much, too fast when we come home, and we're just like stuffed sick, right? Because when we come home, we're hangry. I don't even care what I'm going to eat. I'm just going to dig into the pantry. I'm going to eat all the ingredients while I'm cooking dinner. I don't care. I'm just hungry. It's a survival mechanism, right? Your ghrelin is bumped up and you feel like a bottomless pit. This is what happens when we let ourselves get too hangry during the day. So how we fix this is eating during the day when we can make decisions. Actually, like, not when we're in decision fatigue. We learn to listen to our body's cues so that we're never too hungry or overeat again. So here's the thing that I just want you to recognize. I am teaching you some intuitive eating principles right now, but if you've been chronically dieting, or if you have any sort of disordered eating or eating disorders, it's highly likely you don't even know what gentle hunger feels like anymore. Like, you don't know what hunger feels like. All right. And so it's really important that we must first eat intentionally before we can eat intuitively. All right. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you here. This means that we're eating even when we're not hungry. And I know that can feel a little scary or frustrating, be like, oh my gosh, but what if I go over my calories? I promise, eat during the day, eat even when you're not hungry. We must prove to our body that it can trust us. That's what we're doing here. Okay. So eat at the same time during the day. You're going to aim to eat every 3 to 4 hours, ideally 3 to 5 meal experiences. And one thing I would say is if you struggle, especially with overeating at night, the key little meal for you to add in is a snack between lunch and dinner. So having breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. That way you're not going 6 hours between lunch and dinner. You're going only 3. Super helpful to prevent overeating. And here's an example from my client, Sky. I've stuck to the eating each time my phone alarm goes off. Not just when she's hungry, but when the alarm goes off when she had it planned. So I'm eating at regular intervals. I definitely notice the effect at night as I'm not nearly as inclined to snack heavily. It's not that I'm telling myself no. It's just that I don't feel any strong need to eat after dinner. I promise you, try this. Eat at regular intervals during the day. It's huge. All right. And a huge tool that I use that I love is the 8 app. It helps me with my meal timing awareness and monitoring my eating behaviors without obsessing about calories, macros, or points. My MyFitnessPal it wasn't helpful for me. It made me obsessive about what I was eating, and it wasn't helping me understand when or how or why I was eating. Also, the app adds friction to prevent mindless eating, and you can see the time between your meals or snacks. So this is what it looks like. Obviously, you've got a little bit of time. You can put in your coffee, 3 hours and 14 minutes between. It's been 3 hours and 32 minutes. This is what I use. I am not sponsored. I am not affiliated. It is just something I've been using for the last 4 years that I find super helpful, and it's what I recommend to all my clients. So just putting it out there. You can try a 7-day free trial by clicking the link in your workbook. All right, but moving right along, another big helpful tool is the hunger fullness scale. All right, and it may take time and practice for you to understand. This is a skill. What does gentle hunger feel like to you? We're going to be aiming to try and eat our meals when we're feeling a 3 or 4, right? Once we start intentionally eating and those hunger cues start coming back, then we want to start eating when we feel a light hunger because we can make more conscious decisions about our meals, right? When we feel gentle hunger, rather than being oh my gosh, I just want to eat everything out of the pantry because I'm hangry, instead we're going to be you know what would sound good right now? What would feel good? And as an example, I have Carrie here. She's I thought I was craving a sausage roll, but then I stopped a second, I slowed down, I thought about how I wanted to feel, what food would make me feel that way, and then she ended up instead wanting a chicken and salad because it made her feel good, it satisfied her, and she didn't feel shame or restriction in making that decision. It was just a decision she could make because she was in her power and she wasn't overly hungry. All right. And so the big thing I want you to take away, the big phrase to remember is eat now to prevent the binge later. Eat now, eat during the day. Don't skip meals, right? And you may not identify as a binge eater or someone who binges, and that's totally fine. It's the same thing, eat now to prevent the overeating at night later. I promise you, this is a huge thing that will help you tremendously. So step 3, now eat big enough meals, all right? So we've set the times in place. It's time to make sure that your meals that you're actually eating in those 3 to 4 hours is leaving you feeling warm belly satisfied. All right. And how do we do that? And why do we do that? We want you to feel warm belly satisfied because guess what? Just like Becca said here, I'm not obsessively thinking about my next meal. I'm not thinking about food. Or like Emily said here, I don't constantly think about food anymore. There's so much more space in my life. So we want you leaving these meals feeling warm belly satisfied so that you're not continuing to graze or continuing to look for food. You're not hungry. You can just keep going. And so what those meals should look like is just kind of, I teach the balanced plate method, and it's this idea of having half your plate with fruits and vegetables, having a serving size of protein for women that can be palm size, or we're looking for about 20 to 30 grams. We want to have a quarter of the plate with a starchy grain or complex carb. That can be rice, that can be bread, that can be pasta, that can be all these things. Our body needs carbohydrates. And I promise you that it can be really helpful in fat loss and satisfaction as well. So don't skip meals, breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. Aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal and try to eat a fruit or vegetable with each of your meals. These are really big tips to make sure that you're leaving your meals feeling warm belly satisfied, right? So that we don't have to think about food anymore. And just so we're kind of clear what the difference is between satiety and satisfaction, satiety starts when we end the eating process, right? Before physical hunger returns. So I teach the hunger crushing combo. This is something from Abby Sharp. She's a dietitian on YouTube. You can go check her out. But she came up with this idea of protein, fiber, fat, right? Making sure that all of our meals have protein, fiber, fat, or they're fitting in that balanced plate. And that way we can have satiety. We feel satiated. We're not physically hungry. All right. But also we want satisfaction, and satisfaction is that positive response to food, right? That psychological well-being. What that means is that we're eating exactly what we're craving in the moment. I don't know about you, but if you've ever eaten like, oh, I can't have the cookie, I'm going to have a protein bar, or I'm going to have like a date with peanut butter instead. But then you end up overeating all of this stuff, the healthy alternative, because you're not actually getting that craving. You're not satisfying the craving. And sometimes we crave different things. Like sometimes in winter or when it's cold, we crave a hot, warm stew. And sometimes when it's hot, we crave a crunchy salad. But it's really getting clear about what it is we actually want, not just what's like on our meal plan or something, right? And an example is eat a cookie, but add some Greek yogurt for satiety and for nourishment. So that way you have the satisfaction of the cookie, but you have the nourishment and the satiety because of the protein and the Greek yogurt. And so here's how I want you to remember this. This is your phrase to remember. What can I add to make this meal more nourishing and satisfying? What can I add to make this meal more nourishing and satisfying, rather than what can I restrict, right? Because now we're focusing on like, where's the protein? Where's the protein? Where's the plant? Where's the fiber, right? Rather than like chocolate, right? It's what can I add? All right. Step 4, eat slowly. Gracious. The more we honor our gentle cues, the easier it is for us to recognize our fullness. So that's why first and foremost, recognizing and eating at the same time so that we can bring those hunger cues back. It'll make it easier for us to recognize fullness. But this is the hunger fullness scale again, and we're going to try and slow down so that we can aim to stop eating at about a 6 or a 7 when we're satisfied or pleasantly full. All right. And it takes 15 to 20 minutes for our fullness cues to kick in. I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time that you ate something that was done in longer than 8 minutes? Like most of us eat within 5 to 8 minutes. We're so excited to eat, and then we eat it so fast we don't even taste it. And that's why we end up overeating, because we didn't even feel our fullness cues. So sit at a table, eat from a plate, actually chew your food, set the fork down between your bites, chew, 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 swallow. Get another bite, right? Take a time out. This was a big one for me. Take a time out in the middle to check in with that satiety and satisfaction. Like push the plate away, literally push it away. It doesn't mean you can't keep eating, but take a time out and just be like, how full am I right now? How do I feel right now? Am I enjoying what I'm eating? Do I like the taste? Is it satisfying those cravings? And if not, like, what else could you have? And if it is, how much more do you need until you feel that 6 or 7 fullness? And just some examples from some clients. I had Stephanie here, like, I'm satisfied after eating not even half of it. My life has changed forever. I never understood how people left anything behind. Or I had another client, I threw French fries away. You know, I started eating them. I took a little bit of a time out, thought, it wasn't tasting great, ate about half, and I threw away the fries. How crazy for me. There is so much freedom in being able to respect my body and throw food away. I got my money's worth today, right? She had the experience she wanted. And so the cue or the phrase that I have for you is, how do I want to feel after this meal experience? Learn to take a pause before eating and check in with those internal cues. Where am I on the hunger and fullness scale? How do I want to feel? Can I slow down? I know this is difficult, but it's a skill, it's a practice, okay? So, step 5, savor the meal experience. Food is more than fuel. You're not a robot. You deserve to eat something with flavor, for goodness sake. I think far too often when we think we need to be healthy, we're just stuck in this like chicken, rice, and broccoli, or just a salad with no dressing or whatever else. And then we get up in this extreme, and the moment we have something with flavor or something we enjoy, we end up going crazy over it. why not actually just add some flavor and really, like, you can add sauces, you can make things taste really good and enjoyable. Make mealtime a beautiful life experience. Again, sit down at the table when you're eating, preferably without distraction. Plate your food so it's an actual meal. You're not just eating from a bag. Smell your food. Actually taste every bite. And really think about this, like think of it like a meditation. Be present with it. Like let each meal experience be an opportunity for you to come back to being present, to almost like meditate, to be with yourself, get all your senses involved. What color are you eating? What aroma is it? What's the texture? What's the temperature? What's the flavor? When we really take the time to sit and eat mindfully, we are far more likely to be satisfied eating less. Here's an example of like eating an ice cream and brownie. I had some ice cream and brownie tonight. I loved it. I feel totally satisfied, like that warm belly satisfied, no guilt. And also I only had one serving. I didn't want any more. This is food freedom. I'm able to enjoy and feel satisfied and move on. So the statement I want you to remember, if you don't love it, don't eat it. If you don't love it, if it tastes like cardboard and you don't like it and it's not satisfying you, don't eat it. But if you do love it, savor it. Don't hide it. Don't hide in the pantry or hide in the corner in shame. Like just, you're an adult. Again, enjoy it, savor it, eat it slowly. So now you have all the information you need to bring back those hunger and fullness cues, right? But obviously, like all I'm really teaching you is how to eat. I don't know if you've gotten that, but really, like it's just how to eat like a normal person, right? But the problem is information isn't enough. It's not enough for us to get the transformation we're looking for like, you know all the information, you know all this stuff, but if you know it and you're not doing it, it's because you're not implementing it, right? It's information plus implementation that equals transformation. So it's really important. It's not just enough to know this stuff. How are you going to implement it? And that's why I encourage you, bonus step, get accountability. So Pearson's law says what gets measured improves. So think about the 8 app is a great way for you to start measuring your meal experiences and how often you're eating. But what gets measured and reported improves exponentially. So if you have somebody that you have a mentor, if you have somebody that you can check in with and hold you accountable to it, you're far more likely to stick to it and you're far more likely to actually exponentially improve and have this work. And this is also where a Keystone community comes in. A Keystone community is the group that pushes you forward. It makes you better and is there for you to rely upon when you need them. These are the type of people who make change easier because we want to belong, right? We all have this innate need to feel a sense of belonging. So we adopt the normalized group behaviors. So be in a group that has your desired behaviors. Think of it like group fitness, right? If we're in a group fitness class, we're far more likely to push ourselves harder, more consistently. And it's because we have this community that we want to be a part of. And so here's a great quote that I absolutely love from Jim Rohn that I really want you to hold on to. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And that's in our relationships. That's in our wealth and our income. That's in our health. It's going to be the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So really think about that and think about like, who am I spending my time with? Is it people I want to be more like or not? And last, with the getting accountability, think about it. Like, who else can you take a picture and be like, look, I didn't finish all my ice cream. Who else can you talk to that would care? What about being able to post and realize before a date night and say, I want it to go well. I'm posting here for accountability. And I was able to do so. No last supper mentality. I enjoyed the meal. I focused on my fullness cues. I didn't clean my plate. Or being able to stop mindlessly eating junk food to soothe emotions and instead choosing more nourishing foods because of the support and accountability of the group. Who do you have in your corner that you could talk to about these things? And get real support. Oftentimes we think we are the only ones struggling with food. Our boyfriends or spouses, they just don't get it. They're just like, well, just don't eat it. Our friends don't seem to struggle, right? And it feels embarrassing to talk about. Again, I thought I was the only one with this problem. And I'm telling you, you're not alone. You're not alone if you struggle with food. Like you yourself, you are a special snowflake. I'm not saying that at all. But your struggle with food or your body is not at all unique. And it's something that I work with every single day. And the biggest thing keeping you stuck right now in the cycle of self-sabotage is shame. 100% it's shame. And like the thing with shame is it keeps us isolated. It keeps us stuck because we're embarrassed, right? And often shame cues us to continue to emotionally eat because food is our source of comfort. And we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to tell anybody. So we continue to stay in it. And so I need you to remember, shame dies when we can share our stories in a safe space. So that's our big one here. Shame dies when we can share our stories in a safe space. And so I really encourage you, the antidote to shame is self-compassion and sharing in a safe space, right? Because sometimes if you share with just anybody, it actually may be more isolating. It actually may make you feel even more strange. But this is why we need someone who gets it, right? And it's called an empathetic witness. It's a safe or compassionate person or persons who demonstrates empathy. And it's the key to healing. It's that idea of like, I get it. I've been there. Me too, right? And so just as Ree said here, like I'm in this program, never in my life have I felt so accepted and understood, like all the affirmations of all the ladies who share similar traumas. Or Joy said, I'm grateful for all the support of this group. I am worth to be kind to myself. I'm learning I don't have to feel deprived or be hungry all the time. And it all comes down from the support of the group. And so if you don't have somebody in your corner to hold you accountable or to give you the support that you need, if you don't have anyone else in your life who gets it, I encourage you to check out Rediscover You Free. This is how it works. We've got a freedom roadmap. It's our step-by-step roadmap, self-study curriculum that teaches you not only what I taught you here, like this is one module called Eat Intentionally, but we have other modules there teaching you how to form habits, how to emotionally regulate and calm your nervous system without mindlessly turning to food. We teach you all about how to design your environment so that you can make your habits easy, obvious, convenient, all the things you need, all the tools you need in order to heal your relationship with food in your body so you can have the body you want, so you can feel good in it, and so that you can stop thinking about food all the time. And we also have live coaching calls 2 times per week via Zoom. There's also access to replays where it's an opportunity for you to verbally process and for you to feel heard and also hear other people in the same struggle and really working towards a solution together. And lastly, we've got a private community with daily customized support. It's on Mighty Networks, which is kind of like a Facebook group. But in there, it's private. We don't have social media. It's not triggering. And there's also a resource vault there with podcasts, with books, with articles, with different resources for you to help you on your journey to having a healthier relationship with food and your body. You've got everything right at your fingertips. We're all there to help support you along the way. And so if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Rediscover You Free and how we might be able to support you, or if you just would like to have a conversation with me, I encourage you to book a free breakthrough call. Go to www.rediscoveryouFree.com/call. And that breakthrough call, it's free. It's just an opportunity for us to sit down together so I can understand what's currently going on for you. I can understand what it is that you're looking to achieve. And together we can create an action plan to help bridge that gap. Even if that doesn't mean you join the program, that's perfectly fine. Please know that this is something I genuinely care about. I'm passionate about. I want to help more women, and I've got tons of resources for you. So if you want help with this, or if you want to learn more about how we can be a support system and accountability system to help you actually implement the information that you've learned so you can have the transformation, so you can actually see results, then I encourage you to go to www.rediscoveryoufree.com/call. And I look forward to chatting with you then. And other than that, guys, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be fulfilled, and I'll see you next time. Bye.